Hello everybody out there on YouTube. This is Kris Nicholson. I'm sorry I haven't been online for a long time, but I kind of had a death in the family, so I couldn't be online for a while. But I just wanted to show you, this is all my mini keyboard collection right here. So they're all classified. I have the Casios over here. I have the Yamahas over here. And right over here I call this the no names. But I can tell you about them. Okay, let's start all the way at the end to the minis. This right over here, this is a Casio Rapman, and back then everybody wanted to be a rapper, and of course they made this with this little scratch pad, and it has three little drum pads, and it has some cool little rap and hip hop rhythms on there. This over here, this is a Casio SA35 keyboard, and it has 100 sounds plus little variations on here, and it has probably like around 20 rhythms on here. This is a 32 mid-size key. Right over here, this is a Casio SA39, and this is the same thing as the 35, but one thing about it is that it has everything almost laid out for you. The rhythms and the demos are a little bit different, and it's basically the same synth engine as this one. Over here, this is a Casio MT70, and this is the early MT70 with 49 mid-size keys. Right here you had actually a 2-track built-in sequencer on here, so that was like the first of its kind, and you have guide lamps right on top, just like on a Yamaha Clavinova they usually have guide lamps. Okay, over here, this is what I call a manipulative keyboard. This is a Casio MT210, which is really cool. And this keyboard, you can have many different styles and just, have your own combination of whatever you want on there. Okay, right over here, this is the Casio MT540. You have drum pads, you have a manipulative keyboard, and you have 12 sounds and 12 rhythms, but you can manipulate the rhythms. Right over here, this is a Casio MT640, and it also has drum pads on it, and also it has 20 rhythms and 20 voices, but you have equivalent tone bank of 210, which is a combination voices. Okay, starting from the top, this is an MT540. This is the same thing as the 640, but instead of the drum pads, you have sound effect pads on here, and it's really cool. The sound effects are just like realistic. You get basically street, you get applause, you get Space Invaders. Pretty cool. Now this over here, this is a Casio MT240, which is the same thing as the 540, except for it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles of the sound effects. But it's pretty cool. The demos are kind of different a little bit too, because the other one has sound effects. This over here, if you ever heard of the Casio CA100 or 110, this is the same thing in a little mini version. This has 100 voices and 100 rhythms. And this was like on their very low line of the Casios. But it's pretty cool because everybody took from it and sampled it. Okay, now these are all the Casios that you see. We're going to go straight to the Yamahas. So I'm going to start from the lowest Yamaha all the way to the highest. So, here we go. This right over here, this is a PSS 130 keyboard, and I forgot how many polyphonic it has and everything, but it's 32 notes on here, mid-size keys. All of them are mid-size keys, and this only had like around 8 voices on it, which is really neat. It had 8 styles on it too, and it has a recording feature for a little mid-size keyboard. Okay, over here, this is a PSS 260, and back then, everything had, little sliders over here. So it slides up and down, but this is not hooked up to electricity yet. But it's a pretty neat little keyboard for back then. 49 mid-size keys. You have actually 8 rhythms on here, and you have 10 voices on here. This is a PSS 370, and with this added the musical synthesizer, digital synthesizer feature. It's not stereo, but one thing about it is that it's 49 mid-size keys again. You have actually around 12 voices on here, and you have 15 rhythms on here. Now, one thing about this is that, just like on a DX7, you can manipulate the voice on here, so you can have many different combinations of voices, which is pretty cool. Next step up, this is a PSS 270. Now, these come with already 100 voices on here, and it has like 10 rhythms, which is pretty cool. It has the Billy Joel demo, which is really neat. And one thing about it is that it's stereo, so you have 2 speakers on it. Next one up, this is a PSS 380. Now, this is the same thing almost like the 270. I'm sorry, the 370. But one thing about it is that you have also the manipulative voice features. You have 100 voices, plus you can manipulate them, and you have 100 rhythms on it. And it's pretty cool for what it does. Very light keyboard to carry around. It has a nice built-in demo and a 2-track sequencer. This over here, well, I'll show you all 3 of them. I have 3 PSS 480s. This one was used for parts to fix the other ones. So they all work. Only thing, I mean, all of my keyboards work. Only thing about it is that this one was missing some keys. And if you could see, I forgot to show you, on the PSS, I'm sorry, on the MT640, that's missing a couple keys too. And the Casio Ratman is missing a couple keys. Well, it's missing 1 key. So I'm looking for other ones to fix those because those are working perfectly. But yeah, the PSS 480, these open up a new world. Basically, it's like a DX7 in a little mini keyboard. You have all the features of the PSS 380, but you have better sound quality. You have a 5-track sequencer. What else do you have on here? You have 3 fill-ins, an ending, 100 rhythms on there, which is really neat. And you can manipulate anything. You can actually download DX7 programs into these keyboards. Now let me show you something. This over here says PSS 480. This is a PSS 480 too, but it says Music Station. So they made 2 different copies. Here's another PSS 480 right there. They're all 3 PSS 480s, but they're designed differently. Next we have is its bigger brother, and I have 2 of these. This over here, this is the mid-size 61 key. This is a PSS 680, which is the same thing as the 480, but the 680 has drum pads and just a little more features, better sound and quality. And over here, this is a PSS 795. I'm sorry, 790. The 790 has AWM features, more realistic rhythms, more realistic voices. It doesn't have the dual voice like how the other ones had. Plus you have variations to the styles. And you have a better speaker system and an 8-track sequencer. Next one that we have is a PSS 51, which is the same thing as the 790 and the 795, but it's almost like a full workstation. Better rhythms, better sounds, better everything. Now you have these off-brand keyboards. This one right over here, this is a Ratman. I'm sorry, this is a Blue Man Group keyboard. It has a whole bunch of infrareds and everything. You wave your hand over and get the sound. This over here, last but not least, is the Radio Shack Yamaha. Yamaha actually made this for Radio Shack, and it's a pretty cool keyboard. It has 50 voices and 30 rhythms, and it can teach you how to play piano. Plus, it has a MIDI on it. So, all in all, this concludes my mini keyboard selection, which is really cool. And I'm going to demonstrate all these keyboards for you. Thank you very much, YouTube. Have a nice day.